Good morning. This is Katie Friedman from Unitrends. I'd like to welcome you to our live session for Wednesday, April the 20th, 2016. Before we begin today, I did want to give you a few housekeeping notes. As you may have already noticed, we do have all attendees in listen-only mode. With that in mind, we do welcome your questions throughout today's presentation. However, we do ask that you utilize the Q&A functionality from the WebEx toolkit, which you will find by selecting the icon with a question mark from the drop-down menu near the middle top of your screen. Please make sure to address all questions to all panelists so that we can answer your questions as quickly as possible. With those details taken care of, I did want to go ahead and introduce our presenter for today's session on the new rules of recovery, Dave LeClaire, VP of Product Marketing. Dave?
Thank you, Katie, and welcome to everybody who's listening in today. Really happy to be here to talk about what we're calling the new rules of recovery. So the agenda today is I'm going to spend just a very brief few moments on just kind of setting the stage for why we actually think it's the right time for looking at some new rules for kind of backup and continuity and the general protection market at large. Then we're going to actually have some fun. We're actually going to dive in and we're going to actually go through the 7 rules that we've come up that we think need to be used to kind of redefine recovery going forward. And finally, I'll basically circle back at the end and talk about exactly how Unitrends is addressing those 7 rules and how we can actually help you with your continuity issues. So let's dive in and talk a little bit about just resetting the stage for why we think this is such an important thing. And a lot of this may be somewhat obvious, but I think it bears just going through a couple points. First of all, we're obviously in a huge transition, not only as an IT market or as a technology market, but really the entire world is going through this massive digital transformation, and we see it showing up in every aspect of our lives, whether it's the cars and planes that we fly on and the amount of data that they're generating, to things being driven by Internet of Things with the automation of everything from meters in your home tracking electricity to medical records to our financial transactions and the devices that we interact with every day. The common theme about all those things that are being affected by digital transformation across all those different industries is we're seeing things being done on such a much larger scale than we have ever done before. And it's showing up in large numbers of servers that are growing much more rapidly than they have in the past. Data is growing at a huge rate. The number of connected devices is growing at a tremendous rate. The amount of data that is all being saved as a result of this, as well as transferred across networks, is growing at a huge rate. At the same time as we're dealing with this kind of explosion of technology and explosion of data, we're also dealing with, not coincidentally, a bunch of new architectures. Most companies have made the transition and are moving or have moved towards using virtualization in large aspects. We're seeing anywhere between 60 to 80% of workloads run in a virtualized environment, but we still have to support a huge number of legacy and physical systems as well. Matter of fact, even though most workloads have moved towards virtualization, we actually still see more physical servers running discrete operating systems like Windows and Linux, bare metal, than we actually do servers that are actually running virtualization. So physical still matters. But we're also dealing with many new architectures as we make the move towards cloud, whether that's to a public or a private cloud or to using more SaaS-based applications. We're starting to see containers such as Docker and some of the new containers that are coming out from Microsoft and VMware and others really start to gain a lot of attention, and we need to kind of figure out how do we actually run on those, how do we protect those workloads. And of course, all this is being driven by software-defined architectures that are emerging so that we can gain the flexibility and agility to do more with less resources and less cost going forward. Unfortunately, that's kind of the exciting stuff, the new architectures, the growing data, that's the exciting part. The not so exciting part is we're also dealing with a number of new threats, whether it's mega storms like the storm that hit Houston this week that dropped 18 inches of rain in a day. Those seem to be happening more and more often. Other parts of the world are dealing with massive earthquakes. Our own office in Columbia was hit with Columbia, South Carolina was hit with one of those huge floods earlier this year, and we were dealing with how do we stay up as a business as well. This is unfortunately happening more and more, and it's raising the awareness on disaster recovery and business continuity across the board. We're also seeing things like ransomware. Ransomware for the past year or two has really started to gain a lot of press. But even in the past few weeks, we've seen new breaking news on ransomware. We saw the first Mac systems be affected by ransomware. We saw a new iteration of a ransomware application that actually now ties into your speech systems. It's supposed to be a little bit more ominous to actually read out the ransom demand as opposed to just having it be on the screen and actually use your sound system and your computer to read it out towards you. We're also, as we're moving to some of these new architectures, such as cloud and things like that, we're having to deal with outages at the cloud vendor where things are not entirely within our control. And of course, we continue to deal with cyber attacks and things of that nature, as well as all the other causes of downtime and data loss that we've dealt with for many years, whether it's system failure or human error, et cetera. So because of that, we actually ran a survey very recently, almost 1,000 respondents in IT, and we asked them what were their backup challenges and recovery challenges that they were facing. And obviously, because of some of the trends we just talked about, we saw excessive data growth as one of the top concerns, as well as disaster recovery. But we're also seeing other things in there as well, such as the fact that we have multiple point solutions. Because we have all these different architectures and all these different systems, we may have to run different solutions to actually be able to protect and recover and provide continuity across all those different solutions. We're seeing regulatory and compliance requirements as a major concern, as well as things like, is my data recoverable? Did my backup actually complete successfully? Some of that has been driven off of some new challenges that we've actually seen. For example, VMware had some CBT, change block tracking issues, that made us question whether the backups that were run while that bug was in place were actually accurate. So clearly, there's a lot of challenges that we're dealing with. And so much has changed in our digital world as we're moving to these new architectures, as we're looking at kind of exploding data driven by all the things that are happening within the different verticals. But interestingly, for many enterprises, backup and recovery has remained largely the same. We still talk to many prospects who are running backup and recovery solutions that really are the same as they were been for decades, kind of moving data onto tapes, sending that tape off-site, very manual process that has potential error. Sometimes when those tapes come back, they don't recover. We also see people who may have moved towards virtualization and may have moved towards a modern backup solution, but may not be taking advantage of the power of cloud and be able to move data between not only VMs, but be able to move data between your primary data center and a cloud-based solution. So when we looked at that, we saw so much that's changing, but so many enterprises that were really relying on technology that was invented long ago. We thought it was time to look for a better way. And when we say a better way, we really want to move from thinking about kind of backup and recovery, which has historically been kind of viewed as a functional task that is in the domain of the IT admin. The business generally only gets interested in backup and recovery when something goes wrong and we weren't able to recover something. We had an outage and we weren't able to get back in time and the business actually suffered some sort of financial loss, or some data was lost that we weren't able to recover and now it's gone forever. So it's really been a functional task-based task, and the interest level on it really is not all that high. No one really wakes up in the morning and says, oh boy, I get to go in and do the backups today. So we really want to move from that backup and recovery kind of mentality to one of thinking about this as continuity, thinking about it from a business benefit standpoint. How not only do I protect my data, but actually how do I keep my business going no matter what life throws at me? How do I actually look at this not simply as a task that I have to figure out how to protect a new system that I bought, whether it's a new application or a new virtualized environment, rather than looking at it as something that comes at the end of that purchase process of, okay, I've acquired this, how do I protect it? How do we look at it from a solution standpoint up front? Because if we look at it differently, we may be actually be able to architect a different solution. We may not have to purchase as much storage locally if we look at this as a more holistic problem, end-to-end, from local to cloud-based backup, from backup all the way through disaster recovery, as well as looking at things from a business continuity standpoint. We're seeing a lot more interest in DR, as we saw in that survey, and as a result of that, these continuity solutions really need to be able to factor in DR right in up front. Again, it shouldn't be something that kind of gets bolted on to the side. It really should be something that's part of an end-to-end solution. And by doing this, we hope to make this not only a concern for IT, but this is something that the business should be concerned about, making sure that I have the appropriate continuity solution to make sure that I never have to worry about losing data or wondering what impact downtime is going to have in my business. So with that, we've decided to set up and help people discover these 7 new rules of recovery. And really, it's not really new rules of recovery, it's really new rules of continuity. Because there is a better way to make your continuity platform work for you and not have you have to work for it. This should be something that actually makes your life easier, should be something that actually lets you have more confidence in your infrastructure and have more confidence that your systems are going to be protected and respond the way you would expect them to in the event of a crisis, whether it's a data loss or a downtime event. So with that, let's kind of dive into the 7 new rules. And we tried to make these a little bit memorable, so some of these are a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But rule number 1, downtime is history, whatever your company size or budget. Regardless of whether you're a small company with a single site, you should be able to have a full end-to-end business continuity solution. You should be able to use things that are available, such as disaster recovery as a service in the cloud, to be able to have your data stored off-site and actually have a DR environment where you can recover critical applications. At the opposite end of the spectrum, even if you're a large company, typically in large companies, we start, particularly as we start looking at cloud-based resources, some of those workloads can get lost. And as a result, we may not be protecting all the data that we think we're protecting. There may be some rogue systems. That shouldn't take place. Downtime is preventable given today's solutions that we have for DR and automated testing and automated configuration. We should be able to make sure that our critical systems never go down. Now, there is cost to go with this, so there may be systems that we decide consciously not to fully protect with DR and a full business continuity solution, but that should be a very conscious decision. It shouldn't be something that surprises us when unplanned downtime takes place. It's simply avoidable now. So that's why we wanted to set up this downtime should be history as our first rule. Our second rule, it should be so easy, even your boss can do it. And again, being a little bit cute with these to make them memorable, Sure, your boss is very technical and can basically do anything. But what we're trying to say here is that your recovery solution and your continuity solution is more and more becoming something that should be able to drop into the background. And as a result of that, it's probably not a tool that you're interacting with on a daily basis. It may be a week, a month, between times when you actually have your sessions. You don't want to have your solution have to have an awful lot of training to be able to use it. You don't want to have to refer to a manual every time you need to remember, well, how do I set up a backup task, or how do I set up an instant recovery session? It should be very intuitive so that, again, it makes your lives easier and allows you to go on and work on other things. So we're really seeing this with some of the things that we've been doing. We've actually been having our sales team actually do demos for the customer and actually have the sales folks actually drive the demo. And many of our prospects have been very impressed with how intuitive and how easy it is that the sales team can do it without a sales engineer or some other technical resources on it. But it's even more impressive when we're able to actually turn the controls over to that prospect who has never seen our system and have them actually drive around the interface and without making errors know exactly what needs to be done. And this is really an important thing, we think, to be able to return control back to IT and be able to have these systems be able to do everything you need to do, whether it's physical, virtual, cloud. You should be able to do all of it from within a single solution that is highly, highly intuitive. Our third rule, DR testing should happen while you kind of insert your favorite activity here. DR testing is very important. It's a critical thing that has to be done to make sure that you're able to recover in the event of a disaster. You should also be testing your backups regularly to make sure that your backups are okay. So even if you don't have a disaster, even if you just need to recover a single system that failed or data that was deleted, those should be tested as well. However, we don't want you spending a lot of time doing that. And with the automation technology that we have today, you can automate that testing so that you can go on and either work on a more strategic project for your business, or perhaps even have this testing kind of run in the background while you go home and be able to see your family or play your favorite video games or go mountain biking or whatever else your favorite activity is. But the idea is that you shouldn't be neglecting DR testing, but it shouldn't actually take much of your time either. You should be relying on automation in order to accomplish all of that validation and DR testing for both your backups and your DR environment. Our fourth rule really gets at the heart of one of those new threats I talked about earlier. Continuity platforms should eat ransomware for breakfast. Ransomware, unfortunately, it's not a question of if you're going to get hit. It really is a question of when. Even if you have all the security systems and virus protection systems set up properly, what we're finding is ransomware still gets through. People click on emails that they weren't supposed to. The ransomware companies are getting very, very strategically organized and are able to find systems that are exposed and find a way in through systems that haven't been patched. We did a survey about 10 months ago where we asked a large swath of IT people if they had been hit with a ransomware attack. And at that time, we saw approximately 35% of folks had been hit within the last 6 months with a ransomware attack. I'm sure if we ran that survey today, it would be well over 50%. But your continuity platform should protect you from that. You shouldn't have to pay for ransom. You shouldn't have to have your data lost because of ransom. If you have a complete backup and continuity solution in place, you can simply roll back to the last restore point before you were infected and be able to move ahead. In order for your platform to be able to eat ransomware for breakfast, you need to protect not only Windows systems, but also Mac systems with your protected system. We're now seeing Macs being attacked. The other thing you need to be aware of is it's important to not only protect your systems in your production environment, where your applications are running and your data is stored, but you also need to protect your backup environment from ransomware. And one of the best ways of doing that is to run a continuity platform that actually runs on Linux, that doesn't run itself on Windows. Windows simply is more susceptible to ransomware than Linux is. So by running on a Linux-based continuity platform, backup platform, you will largely avoid ransomware affecting your backups, because that would be the worst case scenario, which you get hit with a ransomware attack in your production system. You try to roll back to your data, and oh my goodness, your backup environment has been infected as well. That would be a worst case scenario. And by running on Linux, we can avoid that. Rule number 5, don't travel alone on your journey to the cloud. What we mean by this is every company's journey to the cloud is different. We see everything from small companies that are completely cloud-focused and basically using SaaS-based applications and putting things into hyperscale clouds to other companies that are just beginning their cloud journey. They haven't really done any workloads yet in a hyperscale cloud. They're looking to start by doing backup and file protection in the cloud, and we see everything in between. Your continuity platform should be able to help you on that journey. Regardless of whether you're a cloud first or just beginning your journey, it should have a solution for you. It should provide a broad range of options for you, from purpose-built clouds designed for data protection to supporting all the hyperscale clouds that we see people running on, Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, Google Cloud, et cetera. They should all be supported with your continuity platform. Our 6 rules really talk about recovery SLAs, particularly when you start talking about cloud-based backup and recovery. Not all companies actually have SLAs. Some of them that do have SLAs, they're somewhat hidden as to how you actually go, what they're actually, the SLA is for, and what is the impact if that SLA is not met. So rule number 6, recovery SLAs do exist if you know who to ask. And you should be asking your cloud vendors, how fast can you recover? What are the kind of edge points around that? So if they're saying you can recover in 2 hours, is that 2 hours for your entire environment? Is that 2 hours for each application, and they can stack up on each other? So to get an environment with 100 applications up and running, it could potentially be, days. You need to be able to get clear answers to that. And the companies that are really excelling in cloud-based recovery will be able to give you very, very clear answers on recovery SLAs. So that's why we basically said they do exist if you know who to ask. The recovery SLAs are not like unicorns out there. They really do exist. And then our final rule, rule number 7, is that all workloads matter. Virtualized workloads, physical workloads, cloud-based workloads, they all have equal rights. They all matter. They all need protection, including some of those physical servers that some vendors in the protection space pretend that you don't have, or if you have, you're foolish for having. This is very important, as we still see most customers have at least some physical protection. In our recent survey that we did on protection, we asked folks what their environment looked like, and in addition to having highly virtualized environments, in many cases, over 85% of our customers told us that they still have large numbers of Windows physical systems running, and over half of those respondents told us that they have Linux physical systems running. All of those systems need to be protected, in addition to being able to protect your workloads that have been virtualized on Hyper-V or VMware or Citrix Xen Server or KVM or any of those other hypervisors. They all matter. They all need protection. Your platform should be able to protect all of them. So those are kind of our 7 new rules of continuity that we think are going to help us redefine recovery to focus on continuity for the business. And we are dedicating ourselves to do this not only for the IT leaders and professionals who are responsible for building these systems, but we also want to do this for the change makers and visionaries who are out there who are driving to these new architectures, who are driving their businesses forward with greater agility. We want to be able to do this for anyone who understands that in today's digital world, protecting not only your data and your systems, but you're protecting your business's ideas, you're protecting your business's intellectual property, and you're keeping your business running no matter what. That should be non-negotiable. And that's really what these 7 rules are about, is creating a system or a platform that keeps you protected no matter what life throws at you, whether it's a ransomware attack, whether it's a mega storm, whether it's just simple everyday outages of a hard drive failed, or someone deleted a file that they shouldn't have deleted. No matter what life throws at you, you should be able to actually recover from that and know confidently in advance that you can do that. So Unitrends is working on redefining recovery for your digital world. And what we're now doing is we're talking about our Unitrends Connected Continuity Platform. And what we mean by the Connected Continuity Platform is we're bringing together the industry's leading portfolio of cloud-empowered continuity services into a single, super intuitive platform that gives you unmatched flexibility, not only for what you're running today, but for where you're going as your business evolves to these new platforms in the future. We want you to be able to discover and be able to capitalize on the potential of cloud computing. At the same time, you should be able to use a continuity platform to reduce your spend on IT. Data is exploding, but we shouldn't have to throw storage at all that exploding data just simply to protect it. Even though the number of copies that we're protecting is increasing as well as the amount of data. Saw a recent stat that a typical enterprise for all of its business, for all its data, has 11 copies of its data in various locations between backups and backup copies and things that are replicated into the multiple locations and put on different computers. You should actually be able to get a handle on that and reduce your overall spend by designing your systems with continuity in mind. And we also want you to gain complete confidence in the recovery point to come. What we mean by the recovery point to come is by doing the work now to make sure that you have a platform in place that protects all of your assets and can actually prove to you that you're protected. Actually do the automated validation and send your reports that let you know that not only have you done the appropriate backup and DR configurations, but we've tested those and validated that you can recover if you do need to rely on them. It shouldn't be something you discover that you can't recover at the time, at 2 a.m. in the morning when you're trying to do a restore because something's gone wrong. So when we talk about our connected continuity platform, we are talking about these cloud-empowered continuity services that extend all the way from continuity planning all the way up to that full recovery assurance technology. So Unitrends actually has solutions in all of this. For continuity planning, we actually have a website called bcdrlink.com, completely free, that can actually help you with some of your DR and business continuity planning, allow you to build a best-in-class plan and store it actually in the cloud so you can use it when you need to. We're also bringing into this platform both our physical appliances as well as our software solutions. So whether you want a full solution of software and hardware that you acquire from Unitrends, or you simply want a software solution that can deploy as a virtual appliance or as installable software into a Linux environment, all of that is part of this platform. We're also extending it with the industry's broadest set of cloud services, both Unitrends built with the Unitrends cloud, as well as support for the leading hyperscale clouds as well. if you have a way of deploying to a cloud, whether it's a private cloud, a hyperscale cloud, or you're looking for it all to come from Unitrends, all of that is included in the platform. And last, certainly not least, is that recovery assurance, that automation and other technologies that allow you to have complete confidence that you're going to be able to recover and be able to prove to you that that we've tested that and that it's going to work properly. All supported by a great support team as well. So there's 4 real aspects of our connected continuity platform. One, we want to protect everything you have. We want to be able to protect it and keep it everywhere that you need continuity, whether it's on-premise, in a second location that you control, or in the cloud. We want to be able to provide guaranteed recovery and continuity with recovery assurance, and we need to be able to do it all within a single intuitive platform. So just touching on these points briefly, when we say protect everything we have, we pretty much mean everything, whether that's physical, virtual, or business applications. Unitrends protects over 220 different versions of operating systems from Windows and Macs and Linux and Unix systems. We protect all the popular virtualized hypervisors, VMware, Hyper-V, Citrix Zen servers, even KVM and some of the other lesser used hypervisors. We have solutions that can protect it. Your business applications, whether it's Exchange, SharePoint, Oracle, et cetera, we have detailed app-specific backup solutions for that as well. Going forward, we are going to be bringing in the capability of protecting SaaS-based applications, whether it's Office 365, and we already have protection for infrastructure as a service, whether it's AWS or Google Cloud or Azure today. So we want to be able to protect your business and ideas no matter where those are being run. When we say everywhere you need continuity, what we mean is typically most companies will start with a local on-premise backup solution, whether it's a physical appliance or a virtual appliance or installable software that runs on hardware that you provide. What actually having local on-premise continuity allows you to do, it allows you to restore quickly from a large number of non-disasters. So it allows you to recover that virtual machine that failed or an entire host that failed. It allows you to not have to send things over the cloud, over the WAN, so you can restore very quickly both your data as well as critical systems with being able to spin up physical or virtual machines actually in an instant recovery environment where you're actually using the compute that comes from our solution. Typically, that's where most companies start, and from there, we provide a very broad, we believe it's the broadest set of cloud-based solutions in the industry. Whether you have a second site that you want to install a second physical or virtual appliance in and actually run this as a cloud solution, or if you have a managed service provider who actually is offering a solution, we can support those in addition to offering our complete Unitrends Cloud solution. Unitrends Cloud includes cloud storage, disaster recovery, and recovery assurance, all in a solution that is purpose-built for data protection and disaster recovery, and is integrated completely into our interface that you use for both local and on-premise. But in addition to that, we also support a wide variety of hyperscale clouds, whether you are focused on running things and storing your backups in AWS or Google or Rackspace or any of the other clouds that are out there. We want to be able to provide that continuity both to those environments as well as within those environments as well if you have workloads running in those environments. The third point that I had in that list of 4 on what the continuity platform is to be able to provide guaranteed recovery. And we do that through our recovery assurance technology. And what this does is it allows you to actually spin up in a sandbox environment your critical applications that you want to validate that your DR environment is set up properly and your backups were set up properly. So in a sandbox environment, we actually will spin up those applications and not only test that they boot, but we actually test at the application layer, that if you have a very complex end-tier application that has dependencies on different VMs, we'll test all those dependencies out, and we'll validate that your application is working exactly as you'd expect. And not only do we validate that it works, but we're going to validate that your recovery point objective and your recovery time objective is being met in actuality. With that, you now can actually have certified recovery points. So we'll store that point, and we know that that's a good recovery point. And because of that, you can have 100% confidence that if you need to actually use that recovery point, it's going to work. Those applications are going to come back exactly as you want. And if there's something wrong with it, we'll flag it and allow you to address it, in the normal course of business. It's much better to try and resolve your issues in your DR environment, on as a casual task, as opposed to trying to do it at 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning when you actually have had a crisis and have a failure. And last, certainly not least, is we're delivering this in an incredibly easy-to-use user interface that also includes automated reports. So this is actually the dashboard of our user interface that we launched this past year. It's an HTML5 interface that will run on all your devices. It gives you very clear indication of what's going on with your backups and recovery environment, allows you to actually see which active jobs you're running, allows you to actually click in to anything that you need more information on. But it also allows you to easily set up new tasks and be able to set up new jobs, whether it's for recovery or protection. We invite you to actually come and see one of our demos or actually talk to one of our salespeople. And we'll actually let you run the interface yourself, and you can see exactly how powerful this is and how easy it actually is. Most users are really blown away by what we've managed to do with this new user interface. And as I mentioned with automated reports, this is actually a report that actually comes out of our recovery assurance technology that we've actually, in this particular case, gone out and validated these 7 or 8 applications and actually validated that they're all within their RPO and RTO objectives, and that this environment is perfectly well set up and run. This is a report that you can run as often as you like and actually have it emailed to you to show up in your inbox, so that you don't have to go searching to try and figure out and wonder, is my environment good? We'll actually deliver a report straight into your inbox that lets you know exactly that things are okay. So bringing this all together, just kind of in conclusion, this is what the platform could potentially look like. There's many, many, many permutations of the platform that can be deployed, but this is probably a pretty typical one where you would deploy an on-premise all-in-one data protection solution, whether it's a physical appliance, recovery series appliance from Unitrends, or our Unitrends enterprise backup software solution as your on-premise solution, and use that actually to replicate and move copies of your backups into the Unitrends cloud, into our Forever Cloud for long-term retention. We can also, once you have your data in the cloud, use the Unitrends DRAS offer to spin up critical workloads in less than an hour if you actually do have a downtime event. You simply have to make one phone call to our cloud ops team and we'll have you back up and running in less than 1 hour, and that's a guaranteed SLA for your entire environment. All this is done with the possibility of having complete recovery assurance. We can automate backup and DR failover testing, so you can actually have complete confidence in your recovery, whether that's actually on your premise or in the cloud. So this is a kind of a typical environment of if someone was deploying the entire platform that would meet and have all those 7 new rules checked off as you go through it. So we're working very hard on redefining recovery for your digital world. We'd love to actually talk with you further about this. So if you're ready to never have to worry about recovery again, and if you can imagine not having to spend time on backup, actually getting cycles back to go work on other things, or maybe even just get home at night and actually go work on something more fun in your personal life, you know, we'd ask you to come visit Unitrends and check out our trial. Look at BCDR link, which is our website for doing DR planning, or just simply give us a call. So with that, I think we're going to open it up for questions that may have come in as I was talking away. Katie?
Hi, well, we've gotten quite a few questions and comments in today, so we're going to have to pick and choose just a couple with the time that we have remaining. But let's jump right into that. First one's coming in from Scott, and Scott says, has ransomware been known to compromise backups in the Unitrends appliance?
Compromise? No. Matter of fact, because we're Linux-based, it's, at least as of today, not possible. We have heard stories of it happening to some of our competitors who are Windows-based, where ransomware has gotten into the backup solution. But with Unitrends solution, at least as of today, it can't happen. Because of that Linux base, we're a little bit immune to some of the Windows-based ransomware attacks that have been taking place.
And actually, we got a comment from Ben. Ben says, my last job had a Unitrends 823 appliance and was crucial in saving our file server from a ransomware attack twice. Oh.
Good to hear. We actually see it on Twitter and Spiceworks and other places fairly often. It's unfortunately, like I said, it's no longer a question of if, it's a question of when. It's going to happen to all of us. It just is. It's unfortunate. The criminal environment out there is too well funded now that they have a revenue stream. They're getting good.
Very true. Very true. Paul is asking, can EMC data domain be used as a backup target?
Can we use it as a backup target? Yes, we can. We would treat it just like any other storage. There's some intricacies in that, depending on if you wanted to move things from data domain into our environment, or if you just simply want to use it as storage. So I'd encourage you, give us a call. We can get you talking with the sales engineer, and they can kind of work out the details on it.
Next question is from Jose. Is there support for Zen or KVM?
Yes. So for hypervisors, we support VMware and Hyper-V, obviously. With the Unitrends 9.0, we added Citrix Zen server support into that product as well. We previously had it in another product that called Unitrends Virtual Backup that we're kind of merging into the Unitrends Enterprise Backup product. So all 3 of those hypervisors, we do host-based kind of VM snapshots and all the things that you would expect, as well as what we call deep virtual protection. So we can not only do an agentless host-based backups, but we can also put an agent in to the guest operating system environment to actually do protection more granular if you need it. Some workloads actually can benefit from an agent either that's application aware or OS aware. For other hypervisors, KVM, the LXC, any of those, Oracle VM, any of those other ones, we do support, but we don't do the host-based backup. We actually do it via agents. So because we have the ability of dropping agents in, we can pretty much support almost any hypervisor that exists out there. So it is an advantage of our architecture. And we do have some customers who use KVM in their environment. Matter of fact, we actually use KVM actually within our appliance to actually do our instant recovery. So we actually do have a lot of experience with KVM just in general.
Next question is from Patrick. He says, would Boomerang be an ideal backup solution to introduce users who are currently using AWS as a complement to their AWS solution?
Yeah, I didn't really talk about Boomerang. I had it on one of the charts, and kind of in the interest of time and simplicity, I kind of skipped over it. So let me take 30 seconds and just say what Boomerang actually is, and then answer the question. So Boomerang is a virtual appliance that will install into your VMware environment, and it does do replication of your virtual machines into an AWS environment. We will soon be, in another quarter or so, we'll be adding Microsoft Azure to that as well. But essentially it allows you to move data and workloads between VMware and AWS. It doesn't store any of your data locally, so your backup would primarily be in AWS, but it does allow you to actually have a backup solution that goes from your VMware environment into AWS. And one of the coolest things about Boomerang is it's very effective as a DR environment. Because we're moving data into essentially low-cost storage in AWS, and we actually don't require any compute to be on all the time. So we use what we call a pilot light technique, which means your data goes up into the cloud, and if you need to actually spin up a workload for disaster recovery, we took your data, we actually transformed it, and we basically turned it into an AWS machine, and we will quickly spin up that machine. So you're only having to pay for your EC2 resources in AWS while you're actually using them in the disaster recovery. So most of the time, you're simply replicating data. We're kind of keeping things up to date. And it's a very cost-effective solution for doing backup to AWS. So if you are investing a lot in AWS, it is a very effective way of moving data both from VMware to AWS, and for that matter, you can bring it back too. You can move from AWS back to VMware with Boomerang. So it's a little bit different solution. It will work side by side with your Unitrends Recovery Series or UEB appliance. So if you're interested in using AWS as your backup target, it's an ideal solution for that.
Next question is from Dag, and Dag says, where's the backup stored? Is it compliant with EU regulations?
So where's your backup stored? Because you're asking about EU regulations, I'm assuming you're talking about from the cloud, but let me kind of start from the beginning. So your backup is going to be stored typically if you have a Unitrends Recovery Series physical appliance or Unitrends UEB solution. What we're going to do is we're going to store one copy of your backup. Essentially, it's going to be on-premise. And then you decide what data you actually want to send up to the Unitrends cloud. So if you want to send all of your data, if you have 10 terabytes and you want all 10 terabytes, you can set it up so you can do that. Or you can get very granular and send just the amount that you want to actually store in long-term retention up to the Unitrends Forever Cloud. So if you have 10 terabyte and you just want 2 terabytes going up, you can set up those specific backup copy jobs in that interface that I showed a minute ago, and we will replicate that data up into the Unitrends cloud. Unitrends currently has Unitrends cloud in 5 different countries: U.S., Canada, UK, Germany, and Australia. So if you're in the EU, the chances are your data is going to go into either the UK or German one. You get to decide, and we will make sure it stays there. We will not move your data elsewhere. You don't have to worry about data sovereignty issues where your data is going to move across country lines without you knowing it or anything. Yes, this is a very good solution for meeting most regulatory requirements. In addition, we also have, just as long as we're talking about kind of cloud and regulatory issues, we have many customers that use this within a HIPAA-based compliant environment. We're willing to and able to give you a BAU, or other type of regulatory environments, PCI, et cetera. We have customers kind of deploying in all those different cases.
Right. Can Live Recover be used in Forever Cloud from a Zen server backup?
For Zen server, any of the environment that you have, whether it's physical or any of the hypervisors, you are able to move copies of those data up into the Forever Cloud. So yes, you can do that, assuming I understood the question.
Right. And then from Cynthia, how does the trial work?
How does the trial work? Is that was?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Unitrends, if you go to the Unitrends website, it's very prominent on the website. You can download Unitrends Enterprise Backup. We will give you a free 30-day trial that basically turns on all of our capabilities. You're free to install that as a virtual appliance into your Hyper-V, Citrix, or VMware environment. Try us out for 30 days. If at the end of that you decide that we're wonderful and you want to purchase us, you can purchase a license and we'll convert that trial into a paid solution.
All right, and then this looks like it may be the final question, unless somebody is holding on to their question out there. Coming in from Ben, any plans to help integrate with Scale at any point?
Any plans I'm sorry, you muffled a little bit.
Any plans to integrate with Scale computing at any point?
We actually do have some integration with them right now. We kind of do it at we've actually talked with them. We've actually I actually even think we've done some joint events with them. At this point, the integration is going to largely be at the hypervisor layer, we kind of treat their solution just like we would any other compute storage networking solution. So it really shouldn't require anything unique from us. We do have some integration with some hyperconverged platforms where we actually go a little bit deeper. We actually will protect and back up the profile configuration. We don't yet do that with them, so if that's of interest to you, I'd say reach out and let us know specifically, and we can talk about how to go about protecting that.
All right, well, that does look like that was our final question of the day. We do want to thank everybody for their time, interest in Unitrends. We do look forward to following up with each and every one of you here over the next few days, and hope you have a great afternoon.